Hello guys, and welcome to this very quick introduction to PROC SQL, the sixth topic on section 3. Now PROC SQL is an alternative to the data step for many types of processing tasks. Okay, it allows you to subset, do joins between data sets. Now the important thing to notice is that it's beneficial for some tasks but not so much for others, i.e. there's some tasks where you can gain a fair bit by using a PROC SQL rather than say a data step processing, others where this isn't really the case. Okay, the select, from, and where construct forms a single query, and you can also rename the output variables from the query. You also should end it with a quit statement, although as you'll see it's not necessarily mandatory. Okay, so at a very high level it's just SAS implementation of the SQL language. Okay, now because it's SAS implementation, the terminology is slightly different. So in SQL you have rows, columns, and tables. In SAS you have observations, variables, and data sets. This again stems from this sort of statistical nature of SAS. And a very simple query example like the one you've got there, you start off with PROC SQL, and then the select asterisk just tells you to select all of the variables from the retail_purchases data set where spend is greater than 5. Okay. Now you can do joins with PROC SQL, and we won't go into the different types of joins that you can find, but basically you have the standard SQL join, so the inner join, the left, the right, and the full or the outmost join. You could use a join keyword together with on instead of a where clause, and the Cartesian product represents all the possible combinations of rows from the first table with rows from the second table. Okay, so that hasn't changed compared to, say, traditional relational databases. Now here's an example of an inner join using PROC SQL. We can't cover them all, but just an example of an inner join. So in this case you're creating the table purchases and the score cat tags as, and then by selecting the customer key and the product key from the T table. T is the alias for the table, and then the spend and the product type as well. You're selecting it from the retail_purchases as T, and you're doing this on an inner join with the product_ type as P on the Udemy library. Okay, and you're doing this join on the product key variable, and then you want to order it by the transaction value basically. So the join, as you can see there in the datasets, takes place on product key. Okay, now a last interesting component of PROC SQL is that it also allows you to use summary functions, which means that you'll be able to use functions such as the mean or the sum to allow you to aggregate different observations and as a result create new variables out of that. There you've got an example where you're creating by using the mean, you're creating an average spend variable, and then creating a percentage spend from the data set. So that's pretty much it, guys. A quick introduction to PROC SQL, and I'll see you in the next lecture.